Well, good morning, Bloomington. Thank you, Maureen, and congratulations. I'm State Senator Jeff Michel, and I represent West Bloomington and a little suburb to the north of Bloomington, Edina or something. But I wanted, and I specifically called Maureen when I heard that Jim would be in Bloomington this morning, because I wanted to play a very small part in paying tribute to Congressman Ramstad. I think it's very fitting that only 10 days out from a general election that we have Jim today and that we get to hear from him, because as I reflect back, I think it's fairly safe to say this is going to be the longest and the loudest and the most expensive campaign ever, not only in Minnesota but in the country. And I'm not sure, well, I am sure, we have not been inspired. We have not been lifted up too much by the billions of dollars that have been spent on this campaign. And the contrast between the noise of 2008 and the service of Jim Ramstad, I think, is quite stark. It's quite stark. What I most appreciate about Jim and working with our congressman is that he has always understood that there needs to be a time to campaign and then a time to govern. A time to campaign and debate and then a time to govern. And I worry now that we've kind of entered this era of the permanent campaign. All noise, all press conferences all the time. And if we don't get to the governing, well, then we're not going to get to solutions, and we're not going to get to things that work for our country, for the city of Bloomington. And Jim was always a great role model and example of the governing that needs to be done in Congress, in Minnesota. And I wanted to make sure I could publicly say that to you, Jim, because you've been a mentor and a role model to so many people in this room, including myself. But I'm so thankful that we have had your service and what you've modeled, whether it's grace and humility. I mean, Jim Ramstad always shares the credit. I guarantee when he stands up here this morning, he's going to thank like everyone in the room, because he knows you all. You know, there's the Ramstad way, right? He grabs the podium and turns up the volume a little bit. But we're going to miss that. We're going to miss your maturity and your wisdom in Congress. Man, I think we need it more than ever. We need it more than ever in 2008, and as we look forward at the challenges that this country faces. So I want to thank you for being a role model and a mentor. I want to thank you for what you've done for Bloomington. And you know, I thought we might all want to try on for size, not the title Congressman Ramstad, but I was thinking the other day Governor Ramstad sounded kind of good, but it's just something to think about. So, ladies and gentlemen, our Congressman Bill Frenzel.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. I'll tell you, being introduced as Bill Frenzel is the highest honor I could achieve. Thank you very much, Jeff. Wait till I call Frenzel after this. Thank you very much for your kind words. Jeff, you're one of the finest public servants I've worked with in my 28 years, and I mean that very sincerely. You represent the people of this great city of Bloomington and also those in Edina very, very well. And two of the other finest public servants I've worked with are also here today. Another legislator who's been a standout, Eric Paulson, who's also been on my staff, and at the local level, Arlene Bush, who's been everything for the people of Bloomington, done such a great job in the school district. And Arlene, thank you for your fine, more than fine, for your outstanding public service. All three of you represent the best in public service, Jeff, Eric, and Arlene. And you really do humble me with your remarks, Jeff, but you know, as a Norwegian, I got a lot to be humble about. Maureen, congratulations on your new position. In fact, it reminds me of my first election. Speaking of your new position on election night, some of you have heard this story before, possibly. But I got a little bouquet of flowers on my first election night with the card saying, "May you rest in peace." Yeah, that's the same reaction I had. May you rest in peace. What's this about? So Wednesday morning after the election, I called the florist to express my puzzlement, and she said, "Well, let me check my records." So she went and checked her records and came back to the phone a few minutes later and said, "Ramstad, if you think you're puzzled, how do you think the guy at the cemetery feels who got the card saying, 'Congratulations on your new position. You have a long, hard row to hoe.'" Well, Maureen, congratulations on your new position. We'll all hoe that row with you and continue to make Bloomington one of the greatest cities, not only in Minnesota, but in America. And believe me, it's been a real privilege to represent the wonderful people of this wonderful city for the past 18 years in the Congress of the United States. Todd Klingel, thank you for the job you do as president of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber. We're all grateful for your leadership. Good to see former legislator Tom Berkelman, who's been a dear friend for many, many years since we served together in the legislature. Just proves that you can work on different sides of the aisle and be best of friends. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. You can argue back and forth and debate and have different positions on the issues, but these personal attacks that we're seeing in politics today, that's not what I signed up for 28 years ago when I went into public service, when I was first elected to the state senate, or 18 years ago in Congress. It's really unfortunate. And the losers are the American people, the people of Bloomington, the people of Minnesota. They aren't served well by the present state of politics. We've got to turn that around. And only you, only the people of this great country can turn that around by rejecting that kind of politics. And both parties are doing it. We can't blame the other side, both parties are guilty of it. But I want to thank all of you for the privilege of serving Bloomington, the great people of Bloomington. What I'm going to leave office with, and I'm going to cherish the most, are the friendships that I've been able to make along the way. And I have so many wonderful friends in this city. If I start naming names, Orv and Dave Senes and Jack Carlson, who's chaired my tax advisory committee, and so many of you, we'd be here all day. But suffice to say that I'm deeply grateful for the best friends in the world. Remember the greatest Yankee of all time, New York Yankee, when he was in Yankee Stadium last game, and the place was packed, and you know how New York Yankee fans are anyway, and they're going crazy, and he got up to the mic, and total silence, and he just said one thing: "I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to have all of you in my life." And that's the way I feel. That's the way I feel as I am about to leave public office.